Welcome back to Economic Outlook. In our last edition, we saw how gross fuel consumption in Atlanta would continue to increase even if President Obama's new fuel efficiency standards are implemented quickly. I reiterated that I supported the plan, but it was a means to a more long-term goal, a shift away from fossil fuels toward renewable resources and a shift to mass transit. In this entry, we'll look at how some of these goals can be achieved and look at the overall savings over simply implementing only fuel efficiency measures. This iteration of the model shows how to reduce fuel consumption more effectively. All of the variables remain the same in terms of growth rate, except for the percentage of single-car commuters. This figure is reduced from 78% to 68%. Essentially, 1 in every 8 drivers shifts to carpools or public transit. As you'll see, the results are dramatic. If just 1 in 8 drivers made the switch today, the gross daily demand for gasoline would drop from 4.4 million gallons a day down to just 3.8 million gallons per day. The base case assumes that drivers continue with their current habits and there are no switches to carpooling. Essentially, the switch to carpooling shifts the curves downward and reduces the gasoline consumption through the life cycle of the president's efficiency measures. The constant growth scenario saves 10.2 billion gallons of fuel over the lifetime of the plan. Population growth still increases demand, but the effects are dampened over the next 20 years. A delay of demand growth is the critical lesson this model demonstrates. By increasing the time it takes for gross demand to expand, governments are able to develop further conservation measures, expand mass transit infrastructure, and change people's general habits. A smooth transition away from fossil fuels will reduce the overall impact to our economy. Rapid increases in demand enhance the likelihood of oil price shocks and propagate more economic disruption than if municipalities have adequate time to prepare for change. This chart summarizes the key argument that my model presents. The most optimistic adoption scenario saves Atlanta over 6.4 billion gallons of gasoline through 2033. However, the daily demand for gasoline increases to 4.21 million gallons in 2025 and 5.18 million gallons in 2033. Fuel economy conserves the resource, but aggregate demand still grows. Once all vehicles are replaced by more efficient counterparts, the consumption of gasoline will still increase alongside the growth in Atlanta's population. A more likely scenario shows even more sobering results. The overall savings through 2033 are similar to the optimistic view, 6.23 billion gallons, but consumption soars to 5.01 and 5.78 million gallons per day in 2025 and 2033 respectively. Today's consumption is around 4.2 million gallons per day. Even aggressive economy standards fail to suppress demand growth. The best way to decrease demand is to reduce the source of consumption itself, driving. Assuming the same levels of growth, shifting just 1 in every 8 commuters to a carpool or public transportation increases overall fuel savings and decreases gross demand. Demand in 2033, 5.04 million gallons per day, equals the demand in 2025 in the probable growth scenario. As discussed above, delaying demand growth gives administrators more time to prepare viable alternatives. At this point, you might be curious to see what would happen if there was a fundamental change in the way Atlantans used public transit. Let's assume that 1 in every 3 drivers now uses mass transit or carpools. The results are stunning. If 1/3 of all workers switched to carpools or used public transit, the Atlanta area would save over 6.4 billions of gasoline through 2033. Daily consumption would decrease to below 4 million gallons per day for at least the next 20 years. If drivers made the shift today, gross demand would increase so far below today's consumption that gross demand wouldn't return to today's levels until sometime after 2033. This information gives decision makers a powerful tool to use in coordination with fuel economy measures. President Obama has taken the first step in what should be a lengthy process to change the way Americans view their commutes. To truly decrease our dependence on fossil fuels and reduce or maintain current levels of gasoline and oil consumption, we need to move toward more mass transit and carpooling in our major industrial centers. We have to do this so that we can keep up with our population and economic growth. Citizens must rethink their bias against public transportation and give up some of the conveniences of driving. Some of this will happen naturally as increasing energy and gasoline prices make the opportunity cost of not taking public transit more unacceptable for commuters. However, as long as energy prices remain low, Atlantans will continue to drive through long commutes because of the convenience and ease that it offers. One positive is that carpool networks are extremely easy to set up when compared to mass public transit infrastructure. Theoretically, it's possible to set up carpool networks right now at very little cost. It's simply a matter of having a public willing to adopt carpooling as a lifestyle choice. This is a step the administration should take immediately by implementing incentives and educational campaigns to explain the benefits of carpooling in terms of reduced carbon dioxide emissions, financial savings, and reduced demands for energy. The demand for energy, fuel economy, and viable public transportation are all critical to lessening our dependence on fossil fuel. The Obama administration understands this reality and has taken the first step in a lengthy process. I have full confidence that the administration has the political fortitude to continue this project and will begin the process of educating Americans on the benefits of carpooling and public transportation. I'd like to thank you for joining me at Economic Outlook, and I would also like to introduce a special guest who has helped me very much with this last string of videos. This is my dog Sadie, who I rescued from a shelter about a year ago, and for the first time since I've started making videos has taken an interest in what I'm doing, and she has patiently sat on the couch for the last hour as I filmed these. So, say hi to everyone, Sadie, and I will see you next time on Economic Outlook. Thanks.